And breaking news continues right now on KCAL News at 10. Homes burning, people hurt, new evacuations being ordered as wind-whipped flames ravage several neighborhoods tonight in Ventura County.
And by our count, as seen from SkyCal, dozens of homes have already burned. And all those orange spots you see down there, those are homes on fire and smoldering rubble.
Well, this is called the Mountain Fire, and it is hopscotching through the foothills of South Mountain above Moore Park and Camarillo, jumping from house to house, street to street, and city to city.
Well, let's get straight up to SkyCal and Desmond Shaw.
And the fire is on the move once again, right?
Yes, Pat and Susie, this is the kind of the third leg of this fire here, the far north section that's burning in the Santa Ana River Valley. And as daunting as this fire looks, it's actually better than it looked earlier. We do have some earlier video to show you some of the intense flames of the homes that burned on the other side there in Camarillo, where we've been paying so much close attention. And then we can show you some of the earlier video as well when the fire on this side was really taking off. So it's just kind of ironic because, you know, the winds are blowing south and west, but this is north of where the fire began. And, you know, somehow a couple embers were able to find their way over those ridge lines. And once they got on that brushy hillside with the wind at its back, and it was able to race all the way almost to the east end of the city of Ventura off of Highway 118 and Wells Road, where they meet over near Vineyard. So this is where we're seeing the primary explosion in the acreage of the fire that's burning right now. I'm not sure that any homes are burning on this side. It's definitely gotten very close to some homes in the Santa Clara River Valley, and so we'll put up the satellite overview because it's kind of hard to get an idea when it's as dark as it is, even with all of these flames. And you can see very brushy, steep hillsides. Here is the Santa Clara River down basically this area, and there's a lot of farmland all right up against and almost practically in the riverbed of the Santa Clara River. Incredibly fertile farmland that is definitely in some serious jeopardy right now. Here we have a particularly active section of flame that is going up as I zoom in right there. I can't tell if that is a home or a farm or what is going up. I just noticed that one right there. And don't think our street overlay is going to Lemon Lease Road. That's just basically a fire road. But you can see some of the fire activity over here now that things are hopefully beginning to calm down in Camarillo. They'll be able to kind of reassess and refocus their efforts over to this section of the fire and see how much they can get it knocked down before the winds really begin to kick up tomorrow afternoon and into the evening before we're hopefully done with this Santa Ana wind event. A couple of water-dropping helicopters here, possibly as many as 4 Chinooks with their night vision technology, and we're going to have probably 3 times as many in the morning. We had close to a dozen helicopters at one point earlier before nightfall. So at first light, we will definitely see a lot more of the water-dropping helicopters. Not likely to see the fixed wing, something we've really been needing but have not been able to have because of the winds, basically restricted to just helicopters. So at a very tough juncture right now at night with not much air support and with these winds, but Ventura County Fire trying to do the best they can to prevent it from expanding any farther. Live in SkyCal overhead, I'm Desmond Shaw. Pat and Susie, we'll send it back to you now in the studio.
All right, thank you, Desmond. And we certainly do depend on the good work of our firefighters out there. And, you know, Desmond was talking about farmland, which is very important. There's so many people and structures and also land that is impactful to all of us here in Southern California.
Absolutely.
And we don't know the exact number of homes that have been destroyed, but we do estimate that there have been dozens that have burned in Camarillo.
That's right. It's going to be a very rude awakening in the morning for a lot of these residents if they're allowed to even go back to this area and see what has transpired since they've last been there. We want to go now to our Leslie Marin. She is in the city's Las Posas Estates neighborhood. Leslie?
Susie, Pat, I will tell you this feels like one of the most devastated streets in this neighborhood. This here is Old Coach Drive, and from where I'm standing, you used to be able to see homes, like basically a wall of homes on the other side of the street. Now, I know it may be hard to see because it's so dark. Now, all the homes from my vantage point are rubble on the other side. This is completely devastating. These are very large homes, and now you can't even make out what room was what in that home. On this other side, you can see we're standing at another home that was completely destroyed. There's still some flames here. I believe it's being kind of fueled by gas. It's very loud. You can hear it. We see it going throughout the night. We do know SoCal Gas is out here in this neighborhood just trying to go home by home to shut off the gas lines so they can put an end to some of these flames here. But again, another home, you can't really make out what room was what. I can make out a garage door, but besides that, I can't even tell you where the front door was. Now tonight we've spoken to both people who have rushed to help their neighbors, and we've spoken to a man who lost his home. Take a listen.
This is our neighbor's house.
This is your neighbor's house?
Yeah, we live in the one that burned down next door. So
you live at this house?
Yeah. We just came up to see if we could find our insurance papers, but that's not going to happen.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So we're. Well, I was just going to leave it, and it's like, well, why don't we see if we can save something? So that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay, back out here live again. You're seeing these devastating images of another home here. Another home here on Old Coach Drive. And many of the homes, again, I've counted about a dozen homes just gone to rubble. You can make out some chimneys, but other than that, not much more. There's a lot of resources here on hand. We saw firefighters with Culver City, with Santa Monica, with LA County, as well as Beverly Hills, and all of them have been going up and down these streets here, just controlling any fires that may pop up. That they say that's what they're going to do throughout the night. That's going to be their job. They have the resources in this area. We saw them attack another home whose roof caught on fire, and they were able to quickly get that fire out and save that home. So having all of these resources has been especially beneficial when it comes to this firefight. Pat and Susie.
You know, we certainly hope they can get around to getting some of those, shutting off some of those gas lines. That just looks scary when you see that and those flames, but of course it takes time and they know what they're doing.
Sure, and they have priorities right now.
Absolutely, so we just hope everything in that respect at least stays safe until they can get to them. All right, we'll get back to you also, Leslie.
All right, we're going to go back to another part of this neighborhood now in Camarillo. Let's go to our Lori Perez, who's also in a different part of the neighborhood. Lori, where are you?
Yeah, we're on Marine View Drive, where finally the dense smoke that we encountered when we first arrived here early this afternoon is dissipating, but still a very long night ahead and many challenges for fire crews. Behind us, one of the many fires like this one burning across this community. Home after home has been leveled by this fire that moved so quickly, and as they continue to have hotspots, firefighters have to monitor them to make sure they don't flare up. You can see in this house, only the chimney is standing anymore. In the foreground, the burned out shell of a car. And as we widen out, the other complication is this. Look at this tree, and it is blocking the way now. Just a little while ago, we heard a loud cracking sound, and a big part of it fell, finally giving way after burning for hours, and the winds pushing and pushing at it. Underneath the tree is a downed power line. Thankfully, it is no longer live, but all of it is adding to a tremendous job that crews have tonight, because this is, of course, just one house and one tree on this one street, and this is just one street of so many many in this community. Families tonight across Camarillo are suddenly faced with a devastating loss. The scope is really stunning how widespread it is and how it is continuing. More homes tonight even catching fire. With nightfall now, it is easy to see, as you can imagine, it's easy to see the flames scattered across the hillside, and that is no doubt causing anxiety for locals who are looking up into the mountains and perhaps if their home is among those that have been hit. Urgent evacuations, though, saved lives, no doubt, today. We have not yet heard of any lives lost, which, of course, is always the priority and always the best news that we can hear. We are live in Camarillo. I'm Lori Perez. Back to you.
Yeah, I can imagine, Lori, a long night for a lot of people who are trying to sleep tonight but cannot, just wondering if their home is still there or wondering what's behind them. In fact, we know Tom Wade is out in Camarillo as well. Tom, where are you in relation to where Lori was reporting? Because she was talking about, was this the same tree that you avoided earlier?
No. So we are very close to each other. She's on Marine View. I'm on Marine View as well, but I'm down the street, and there's a lot of obstructions between her and I, a lot of trees and debris down. And I'll take you through kind of where we are. If you take a live look, the tree that was coming down and pieces of it still continue to fall down is the one that you're looking at right now on your screen. And, it's possible that it's burning from the inside, so we're keeping our distance from it. But, as we pan over and look just across the street, that's where really the heartbreak is here on Marine View, and that is the house that was there, and certainly that the cars and the trucks in the driveway. I mean, everything there just gone. It's very unrecognizable at this point, and just another area that's been transformed by the horrors of these fires that move so quickly through the area. I was just talking to a Ventura County Sheriff's deputy who's patrolling the area. They're trying to make sure nobody's coming up here to try to steal things, looters, that kind of thing. They're trying to make sure the area is secure. And they were saying, too, when we come through and issue the evacuation orders, it's because we are concerned about the real possibility that when these fires come through, there's very little warning. It's a wall of black smoke. It's a wall of flame. It's very intense. We have some video just from a short time ago to show you the embers. In fact, they're happening. It's happening right now. The embers just blowing off of this burning tree. And Francis, let's just back up a little bit. We are really close to that tree. It's incredible because we talked about it. The embers they come out like a wall and like a sheet from the tree, and then they spread everywhere, and you just have to wonder how, with the volatility of everything here, the dry brush, the fuels, that these things hit objects, hit homes, and it is just instant destruction in some cases when these things get in people's attics and then just catch fire and homes just burn from the inside. It's just a devastating effect. We were in a neighborhood just a few minutes from this particular spot. I think we have video of that as well. Another huge home burning on the top of the hill. Just awful. I mean, it burned for well into an hour when we were watching it, and just an incredible, horrible scene there as well. And we feel for the people who these are people's homes, these are people's lives, legacies. Often people built these homes here, and to see everything just come down and burn in the matter of minutes, it's sort of this apocalyptic scene. It's miserable to see, and we know that when people come back and see this in the daylight, it's just a sight that's surreal and hard to believe. We also went to an evacuation center here in Camarillo. It's a church that's invited the Salvation Army and the Red Cross in to help people. About 100 people were there earlier this evening, and they converted it into like a place where people can actually stay. And we spoke to some evacuees. Take a listen. How we're in this neighborhood.
My husband and I live in Las Posas Estates. And this morning we had lots of pounding on our door to get out. And so we did. And the fire at that time made it difficult to get out because it's less than 1,000 feet from us. And we kept trying to find our way out through the smoke, and there was fires on the side of the road and in front of us. And we kept going in circles, and we finally got out. And So we've just been kind of driving around.
Breathing was a little difficult for some. Some left earlier until they finally did the evacuation notice, and then we all had to go.
We got an evacuation text, and I went home because I was at work, and went home to neighbors packing up. It moved very suddenly into our neighborhood. We got one of our neighbors who lives alone by herself out, and we headed to the evacuation center.
The Red Cross is in this community 24/7. We're helping the community prepare, and of course we're responding to this fire, and we'll be here to help them recover and get back on their feet and get back into their homes. This started out as a temporary evacuation point where people were coming in just getting information, a place out of the wind, out of the smoke, but now we're transitioning to a shelter, an overnight shelter. We have a team setting up cots so they'll have a place to sleep. We have the Salvation Army cooking meals for us. So we'll have dinner tonight, breakfast tomorrow, meals as long as they need it here. We have some nurses that are here that have initially were treating some scrapes and some minor burns from people that were evacuating. And then we brought in some people from a local nursing home where the smoke was getting too intense. So they're staying here with us also.
And once again, back here in Marine View, looking at one of the homes that's been reduced to, ash and rubble, just another surreal and just devastating situation there, just very sad. And you think about all the people that will want to come back. I was talking to that sheriff's deputy I mentioned just a few minutes ago, and he was saying that people are already at the roadblocks that are blocking down these neighborhoods and asking to come home. And I can tell you just from standing here, it is definitely not safe to come back to these neighborhoods. It is very volatile. Like just for one example is the tree, Lori was talking about one near her. There's one near me where it looks like it could come down at any point, and without any warning, chunks of it were just falling down. There's, I can hear what sounds like broken gas lines and flames coming out. I don't know that to be certain, but I hear that's what it sounds like. And I've covered these fires for many years now, and that's what it appears to be. We'll see what it is, but there's just there's also down power lines. I can see one right where I'm standing right now. Of course, it's not energized, but you still don't want to be in the area when there's just this sort of uncontrolled debris, and these neighborhoods have been transformed. You can't even tell it was a neighborhood, and so they're just emphasizing to everyone who wants to come home. And of course, who could blame anyone? These are people's homes, and this is where they live, and we know that, and our heart breaks for everyone that's been impacted here. There's just no way to make people feel better about that, but it is better for them to stay safe and to stay away until the conditions here improve, and they're just not right now. It's there. We see blowing embers just even now. You can see just spraying from these trees, and it shows no signs right now of ebbing. Of course, we know that from Danny and Ev as telling us that there are some signs of hope coming in the next 24 hours here and there, but for the moment it's a volatile situation and very difficult. Let's go back to you in the studio.
Well, Tom, we've seen gas lines that still have not been shut off, so fire still burning. And, of course, as the weather shifts, these fires could pick up again, or embers could be blowing, and I'm sure that's why they don't want people back in the neighborhoods until it is completely safe. Where you are, have you noticed that? I know earlier in the evening we saw some gusts around you, and we saw embers flying. Has it calmed down a bit?
Pat, it does for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden a huge gust will come through, and it will just spray the embers back out into the air and into these neighborhoods. And to your point, it's because of that, and it's because what it sounds like gas lines right now. I can hear that's what it sounds like. And I don't know if you can see these embers on your screen. It's hard to know what can be picked up by the camera, but they are just, spraying like little pieces of sheets of paper that are lit on fire. It looks like almost, it's like confetti that's on fire almost. And And so, yeah, I mean, and we've seen people at the roadblocks, and your heart aches for them because, of course, if it was your home, you'd want to know, is it okay, or I forgot to get something that I really need. But the problem is, at this point, it's almost impossible to get to some of these properties because of the debris and the things that are in the road, some of which are very dangerous, pieces of homes and rock, stucco, any number of building materials that could be in the roads, in places you wouldn't otherwise expect them to be in a normal situation. And Pat, you mentioned it too. I think in the last hour, we've been reporting extensively on just sort of the insurance woes for people. At this point, we're not even to the point where people can get back home, but that's obviously something that's going to be an issue that people have to tackle. And it's not just here in California. When we've seen horrible storms in other parts of the country, like in Florida and the South, and they're contending with their own issues. But this is our real signature issue, unfortunately, in California, are these fires. And also, I just going back to what you also said, it's so dry out here. It's just absolutely bone dry, and we haven't really had much rain at all. I think we had some wet weather last week in certain parts of Southern California, but not everyone got it, and a lot of this stuff is just bone dry. And as Danny and Ev have been reporting extensively, the winds are obviously a huge factor, and from 1 minute it's fine, and then boom, you get hit by a huge gust and it hits part of the tree that's smoldering, and then you get spraying embers going out. So it's just it's a tense situation, and it's one that changes minute by minute.
Well, Tom, we can certainly see the embers that you're referring to. Our viewers can certainly see the embers flying around, as Tom describes it, like confetti on fire. And that is the big concern tonight, and was all day, Pat.
Yes.
Because of these high winds and with embers flying around, we're talking about the flames hopscotching and skipping some areas, but hitting other areas very hard. And our team of meteorologists has been talking about this all day today, and Danny Roberti is standing by with a look now. Danny, these winds not expected to die down overnight either.
Oh, no, they're not, Susie and Pat. I mean, it's just heartbreaking to see what so many people in our community are losing right now. And so we want to try to walk you through what we're seeing right now, and the meteorologist Evelyn Taft's going to walk you through when we finally see these winds quiet down, because that's what we are laser focused on. Now, right now, that is not the case. I will say this, there is a silver lining in all this, is that the winds are backing off just a little bit right now. I mean, we were dealing with our most intense winds at the start of this Santa Ana wind event. They peaked late morning into the afternoon. We had some wind gusts in Camarillo clocking in at 62 miles per hour. They're down to 40 miles per hour, so that is improvement. But here's the thing, the winds that you are seeing on your screen, this is still really windy for us. This is still a dangerous Santa Ana wind event that we are dealing with. Moore Park, the area where the fire is, 39 miles per hour right now. Earlier in the evening, they were close to 50 miles per hour. So backing off just a little bit. The thing is, we're going to see another uptick in them, and that's something that Evelyn's going to be talking about. Let's focus, though, on those conditions around the fire. In Moore Park right now, we are seeing some cooling temperatures. We're in the low 60s, but we are continuing to see the winds, sustained winds coming out of the northeast, 21 miles per hour, gusts nearing 40 miles per hour. So when Tom kind of mentioned where things are calm for a quick minute, and then all of a sudden it kind of spurts back up, that's because we're dealing with these winds. It's these kind of intense bursts of wind that move through, and that's what we've been seeing for most of today, not just in Ventura County and in LA County. All of Southern California has been dealing with this. And Tom also mentioned how bone dry it is, and it still is in Moore Park. We're not really seeing much improvement there. Our relative humidity still sitting at about 12%, and we're still seeing some areas in the single digits. And when we're dealing with this nasty combination, it's really gusty, it's really dry, and that's what leads to this really dangerous weather. And specifically today, this has been a dangerous event for us here in Southern California, and it's been widespread and it's prolonged. But you can see the focus, it's really Ventura County into parts of LA County, Santa Clarita Valley, still seeing gusts nearing 34 miles per hour. But you can also see we're continuing to see these winds through Wrightwood, Claremont, into Chino. So Inland Empire, is still getting in on some of this, and we could see some of these howling winds going into tonight. Relative humidity for everyone, it's dry out there, and that's because these winds have dried things out. A little bit of improvement in some areas, though. Either way there, for our kind of spectrum, it is dry. 16% in Burbank. We were in the single digits about an hour ago, but most areas are anywhere from the teens to the low 20s in terms of our relative humidity, and that is still a concern. We're not going to see much improvement with that overnight. So we're still holding on to the winds, but they are backing off. It's still very, very dry out there. I want to focus on the fire weather as well, and what we were seeing today. Evelyn's going to focus on how long this is sticking around, but you can see our fire weather outlook map. This is something that the Storm Prediction Center puts out for us. The bullseye for the most intense or the most concern for fire danger, it really is the area where the mountain fire started. Look at the pink right there. This is our highest tier in terms of our levels for fire risk. Extremely critical conditions through Santa Clarita along the 5 over towards Moore Park into Thousand Oaks, and it's because of that volatile combination of really gusty, intense Santa Ana winds and things being so dry. I mean, it is very rare that we see something like this, and on top of that, we've got all this smoke that's blowing to the west of the wildfire. So if you are in areas of Oxnard, if you are in Camarillo, you are noticing this thick smoke out there. Here's a look at the concern, areas of concern. So just west of the fire, we have these winds. They're coming out of the northeast. So that's pushing this smoke that we're seeing from the mountain fire all the way to the coastline, Ventura into Oxnard. I want to focus on some of these areas. If you're out and about driving, this is going to continue into early tomorrow morning. So Oxnard's one of those key areas where it is going to be a big concern right now. You've got that along PCH. We're seeing that thick smoke right along the 101 and making your way into Camarillo. That's the case over into Ventura. Not as bad into Ventura. The focus is really Oxnard into Hollywood Beach. And then you can see, especially as we move closer to areas of Camarillo, just to the north of that, along Center School Road, Bradley Road. We're seeing some of that thick smoke out there as well. Also along La Loma Avenue. Now, I also want to focus on that dense smoke because it's not just the areas surrounding the mountain fire. This is going to be the case for a lot of us in Southern California, but especially here, this is where we have that dense smoke advisory. We have poor air quality out there. This is going to stick around until 4 o'clock Thursday afternoon, but you can see a lot of Southern California is under this, not necessarily because we're seeing fires burning everywhere, but it's because the winds are kicking up dust, they're kicking up ash, and that's what's creating this air quality. It's not good to breathe in, so it's good to limit that time outside, especially tomorrow morning, because we are not out of the woods yet. We are continuing to see these winds. We're seeing them right now. Things are very dry out there, and that fire danger, it is not just elevated, it is critical. And I want to pull in meteorologist Evelyn Taft because we're dealing with these red flag warnings, these red flag conditions. But Ev, this is not our normal red flag warning, and it's rare for us to see this, correct?
Absolutely. It's a red flag warning, but then on top of that, it's a PDS, which is short for a potentially dangerous situation. And we're kind of past the point of potentially dangerous. It's already dangerous. We are in it. And the last time we saw a PDS issued by the National Weather Service was in 2020. It was back in October and then December of 2020. So it's been almost exactly 4 years since we've seen anything of this magnitude as far as the Santa Ana wind event goes. So we do have red flag warnings remaining in effect through tomorrow and some even through Friday. We're going to continue to see red flag warnings staying with us. Again, 2 more days. We're looking at rapid fire spread due to strong wind, of course, and low humidity. And that's exactly what we're experiencing right now. So let's take a closer look at what we're contending with wind-wise as we move through the next few hours. 20+ mile-per-hour wind speeds expected. And we're really not letting up, at least until tomorrow evening by 5 p.m. So a lot of these wind warnings expire at 4 p.m. It gets a little calmer by 5 p.m., but it's still going to be dry. And on top of that, we're continuing to see decently warm conditions, getting warmer by the end of the week as well. Wind gusts 50 to 70 miles per hour through tomorrow. Again, these are your gusts, not your sustained wind speeds. But the more impressive thing that you're not seeing right there, sustained wind gusts, again, sustained wind speeds, 20, 30, 40 miles per hour. But peak wind gusts could go up as high as 80, 90, even 100 miles per hour. Isolated, but the chance is certainly there. As we get a look at this forecast graphic right here, you will see everything remaining in effect wind-wise through 4 o'clock. That's 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. But remember, after that, we're still looking at breezy conditions, and we can't let our guards down, of course. At this point, the mountain fire will most likely continue to burn past the advisories. Okay, so let's get a look at your next weather futurecast right here. As we take a closer look at what we're contending with, you will see overnight in the Ventura County area, we are looking at quite a bit of wind. As we take a look at the legend right there, you'll see the orange on your screen, meaning 20 to 30 mile per hour wind speeds. Wind gusts even above that. So we're continuing to see, again, dangerous conditions, windy conditions, and usually in an event like this, we would get calmer by tomorrow afternoon. No. We're only getting windier. By 12:45 tomorrow afternoon, you'll see right there, we are looking at widespread winds, 30 to 40 mile per hour winds. And remember, wind gusts could be upwards of 50, 60, 70, even 80 plus miles per hour. And then finally, by tomorrow evening, we are expecting to see much calmer conditions in the wind department. But even then, there's still going to be wind in the forecast. And as we get a look at the big picture here in Southern California, you will see wind blanketing Southern California through tonight. In the overnight hours, we stop the clock by 7:30 in the morning, and by then we're still expecting especially windy conditions through our mountain and desert communities and our passes and canyons. And of course, we're continuing to keep all eyes on Ventura County and the Ventura County coastal plain as this fire continues to move through in the overnight hours, in the morning hours as well. Now, tomorrow afternoon, again, it's calmer. A lot of those wind warnings starting to expire. But even then, even as the warnings expire, we're still looking at dangerously windy conditions through our mountain and foothill communities. It's just not going to be as widespread, but we're going to continue to see that wind last through tomorrow afternoon. By tomorrow evening, once we're officially done with the warnings, we're still looking at quite a bit of wind right there in the higher elevations. So really through Friday, we could see that wind. We're still looking at dry conditions. And of course, temperatures actually getting a little warmer by the end of the week. So fire danger continuing to stay with us. So don't forget, we do have that PDS, of course, something that we don't see every year, every couple of years. It's been 4 years since we've seen potentially dangerous situations here in Southern California. Again, we're past the potentially. We're already in a dangerous situation. At this point, we're just keeping our fingers crossed that we won't see other fires break out as conditions continue to be ripe for fire. But again, we are looking at red flag conditions through Friday, and you will see it's not just us, it's most of the state as well. So we're continuing to watch it for you, but for now, I'll send it back to you, Pat and Susie.